So when you look at the news cycle these days, it's easy to feel a bit overwhelmed, isn't it?
Definitely.
We've got this record-shattering aerial assault we need to talk about, massive military drills, whole island nations involved.
Right.
And then these critical global trade routes still, facing really severe vulnerabilities.
It's a lot, and it all feels, well, connected somehow. The global landscape is shifting so fast.
It really is. And making sense of it all, I mean, that's more crucial than ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly why we're here, really. For this deep dive, we've gathered the latest intelligence, the reports from these major global hotspots.
Yeah, trying to cut through the noise a bit.
Exactly. Get to the important stuff, help you connect the dots, hopefully give you that kind of aha moment without just drowning you in information.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's dive in. We really have to start with Ukraine. The scale of this recent aerial assault, it's just staggering.
It really is.
Reports from the Ukrainian Air Force spokesperson, Uranati, say Russia launched, get this, 728 drones against Ukraine in one night.
728. And what's really striking there, it's not just a big number. It completely shatters the old record.
Which was what, back in July?
Yeah, July 4th. That was 539 drones. So this is what, 189 more drones in a single night.
Wow.
It's a huge jump. And it suggests, maybe a shift in strategy from Russia, trying to overwhelm defenses, saturate them.
A war of attrition on air defenses, almost.
Exactly. A long game strategy, maybe, focused on resource exhaustion, depleting those missile stocks over time.
Right. And despite that incredible number, Uranati said practically all of those drones were shot down.
Which is quite a claim.
It is. But they did say 6 hypersonic missiles hit targets, though the full details on damage, that's not really clear.
Yeah.
And the human cost, as always, just awful. 1 person died in western Ukraine just from drone debris. And then 8 others were killed in the Donetsk region. Drones and guided bombs there that apparently weren't intercepted.
It just highlights the challenge, doesn't it?
No,
Defending such a huge area against so many threats, different kinds of threats coming in all at once.
Yeah, like look at the city of Lutsk. Population 200,000, right? And it's only 200 kilometers from Poland.
Close, very close.
And it faced its biggest air attack of the whole war so far.
Wow. What did the local authorities say?
Well, they reported damage, buildings, depots, parking lots hit. But crucially, no deaths reported in Lutsk itself.
Okay, that's something.
Still, the governor for the wider Volyn region, he noted 50 Russian drones and 5 missiles just in their airspace.
50 drones, 5 missiles. Even if interception rates are high, the sheer volume and those hypersonic missiles getting through, it forces really tough choices.
About where to put resources, yeah. Especially if those resources are getting scarce.
Precisely.
And the international reaction, it was pretty quick. Polish and allied fighters were scrambled, right, after that Lutsk attack.
Yeah, making sure their own airspace was secure.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And President Zelensky, he was actually in Rome, and he reacted immediately. Said these attacks just prove the need for tougher sanctions on Russia.
Right.
Specifically calling out countries still buying Russian oil.
And his diplomacy in Rome is interesting, too. He met with the U.S. envoy, Keith Kellogg, and Pope Leo, who actually offered the Vatican for peace talks.
That's a big offer. Did Moscow respond?
Apparently, they rejected it. Or reports say they rejected it, which tells you a lot about the chances for talks right now.
Doesn't sound promising, no. And then, adding another layer, you have former President Trump's comments. Pretty surprising, actually.
What does he say?
Well, he promised more defensive weapons to Kyiv, but then he also kind of uncharacteristically criticized Putin, called him all talk, very nice, but ultimately meaningless.
That is unusual for him regarding Putin.
It is. And when asked about what he might do about Putin in the future, he was very cryptic. Said, I wouldn't tell you. We want to have a little surprise.
A surprise.
Okay. And he also mentioned considering a bill up to 500% tariffs on countries buying Russian energy and products.
100%.
Oh.
That would be, well, that would reshape global energy markets dramatically.
It's a huge potential impact, yeah. Meanwhile, Germany's Chancellor Friedrich M., he basically said diplomatic options are exhausted for now.
So Germany's doubling down on support.
Seems like it. He confirmed they'll keep supporting Kyiv, and they'll propose new air defense systems at that Rome conference.
Okay, so a pretty firm stance there. Continued military aid, not immediate peace talks from a key European player. Fits the broader Western approach.
Right. So, okay, that's the Ukrainian and Western view. But we need to look at Moscow's side, too, how they're framing this, especially with this arms race heating up.
Absolutely. What's the official Russian line?
Well, Moscow claimed its attacks targeted military airfields in Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Defense said their East Battle Group advanced liberated the community toy in Donetsk.
Liberated.
Right. They called their air operations a combined assault, used a mix of weapons, Kinzhal hypersonics, drones, and claimed all designated targets were hit. Said they achieved their goal of degrading airfield infrastructure.
Standard operational aims. But they also have this counter-narrative, don't they, about Western weapons?
Yes, asserting that Western weapons are being used to kill children inside Russia.
Do they give specifics?
Yeah, the acting governor Kinstein of the Kursk region reported a Ukrainian drone attack killed 3 people on a beach in CCO. Said one was a Russian National Guard soldier helping evacuate people, 7 others injured.
On a beach.
Yeah. And he also said 23 drones were intercepted just in the Kursk region.
23 in one region.
Yeah.
So Ukraine is definitely striking back across the border.
Seems so. There was another report, too. A hospital hit in Rylius, near the border. 2 injured, windows broken, roof on fire.
A hospital.
And the Russian Defense Ministry overall claimed they destroyed 86 Ukrainian drones overnight across 9 different regions.
86. So the drone war is very much a two-way street.
It appears so. And their foreign ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova, she directly addressed weapon suppliers. Said they must be aware these weapons are being used to kill children.
Right. That's clearly part of their information strategy, trying to undermine Western support.
Exactly. Which brings us to a really critical point. The strain this is all putting on U.S. military stockpiles.
Ah, yes. The Patriot systems.
Right. It's actually uncertain if Patriots will even be in the latest U.S. aid package for Kyiv.
Why is that? Is it just the cost or?
Well, an internal Pentagon assessment apparently revealed the U.S. only has about 25% of the Patriot missile stock it needs for its own war plans.
Only 25%? Wow.
Oh.
That's a huge vulnerability for the U.S. itself.
It's incredibly stark, isn't it? So obviously the U.S. is scrambling to replenish.
How are they doing that?
Big spending. The Army plans over $1.3 billion just for Patriot interceptors in the 2026 budget.
$1.3 billion.
They bought over 2,000 PAS-3 MSE missiles in 2024 already, expecting another 214 this year, 224 more targeted for 2026.
That's a lot of missiles. Where's the funding coming from?
Nearly half is funded by Operation Atlantic Resolve. You know, the Pentagon's push to reinforce NATO in Eastern Europe.
Okay, so directly linked to the European situation.
And Trump recently signed a bill adding another $366 million for 96 more missiles.
The numbers are just massive. The sheer financial cost, the logistics, just to keep up.
Exactly. This intense arms race, it's not just about Ukraine, is it? It's putting serious strain on U.S. readiness globally.
And it had huge implications for Europe's long-term stability, too.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of just maintaining this level of deterrence and support is, well, it's staggering.
Yeah, and this intense focus on defense and readiness, it's not just Europe. We're seeing similar things ramping up in other global flashpoints.
Like Taiwan?
Exactly. Taiwan just started its largest military exercises ever, the Hankwang exercises.
Largest ever. And what's the focus?
Officials in Taipei are calling it an unprecedented level of intensity. Day one simulated attacks on command systems, critical infrastructure, and they were specifically testing decentralized command, which, interestingly, they said, was directly inspired by Ukraine's experience.
Wow, so lessons learned from Ukraine are already being applied halfway across the world. That's fast.
It really is. And over the next 10 days, they'll be running scenarios like resisting a large-scale Chinese invasion, beach combat, coastal defense, 24-hour continuous air ops.
It sounds like a definite shift towards a more distributed, resilient defense posture.
And new elements this year, too. The biggest mobilization of reservists they've ever had. About 22,000.
22,000 reservists? That's significant.
And they're deploying U.S.-supplied HIMARS for the first time in these drills, and their own locally developed Skies rocket systems.
FIMARS and local systems. Okay, so they're integrating new capabilities. How's Beijing taking all this?
Predictably, perhaps. The Chinese Ministry of Defense called the exercises a bluff.
A bluff.
Said Taiwan cannot resist the sharp sword of the PLA if it pushes for independence, no matter what weapons it has.
Strong words. What about the Foreign Ministry?
Their spokesperson, Manning, just reiterated Beijing's opposition to any U.S.-Taiwan military ties. Said any attempt by Taiwan to seek independence by force or by relying on others is doomed to fail.
Standard rhetoric. but aimed at undermining Taiwan's confidence and maybe deterring international support.
Right. And China's not just using words. They've added 8 Taiwanese companies to an export control list.
Which companies?
Includes IDS, which is Taiwan's main aerospace manufacturer. They're prohibited from sending dual-use products now.
Ah, so economic pressure hitting their defense industry base.
Exactly. And militarily, Taiwan detected 31 Chinese aircraft sorties and 7 warships crossing the unofficial median line in the Taiwan Strait just recently.
So constant pressure, military coercion alongside the economic and diplomatic moves.
Seems to be the pattern. Okay, let's shift gears again. Another hot spot, the Red Sea. Still a major issue.
Yes, unfortunately. What's the latest there?
We got confirmation that the cargo ship Medicus, the one attacked by Houthis back on July 6, it has actually sunk now.
Oh, it finally went down. That's bad news. What was it carrying?
Metals and fertilizers, apparently, going from China to Turkey.
And this just hammers home how vulnerable that route still is for global trade, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The attack itself was quite something. Small boats, light weapons, grenade launchers, even unmanned boats involved, reportedly. Then it caught fire and started sinking.
Were the crew okay?
Thankfully, yes. They were rescued by a ship from the UAE, the Safim Prism.
Well, that's good news at least. But the sinking itself, it just means higher risks, higher insurance, longer routes.
Higher costs for everyone, eventually, yeah. And finally, let's touch on the Horn of Africa. Renewed violence in Somalia.
What happened?
A big explosion, then gunfire, at the Jalis Sayad military base in Mogadishu.
Jalis Sayad. Wasn't that hit before?
Exactly. Same place where an attack killed 25 soldiers back in 2023.
And who's claiming responsibility this time?
Al-Shabaab. They claim they were targeting Western specialists who were training soldiers at the base.
Western trainers. Okay. Any word on casualties?
No official confirmation yet. But this comes after another suicide attack in May at a nearby base killed at least 10 recruits.
So a pattern of attacks on military facilities.
It looks like it. And the bigger picture here, Al-Shabaab seems to be advancing in rural areas.
Why now? What's changed?
They seem to be taking advantage of this uncertain transition period for the African Union peacekeeping mission. It's facing funding problems right now.
Ah, so a potential power vacuum. And Al-Shabaab is stepping into it.
That seems to be the concern. Creates more instability in a region that's already strategically vital and, frankly, quite fragile.
Yeah, definitely concerning.
So, wrapping all this up, what does it all mean for you listening?
Well, from the skies over Ukraine and the huge strain on defense budgets to the military posturing heating up in the Taiwan Strait, the disrupted trade in the Red Sea, the violence flaring up again in Somalia.
Even though they seem like separate events, geographically distant.
They're deeply interconnected, aren't they? They paint a picture of a really complex, really volatile global landscape. Yeah, where conflict in one place directly impacts strategies, trade routes, even domestic politics and economic stability somewhere else entirely.
So hopefully this deep dive has given you a condensed, high-value way to grasp these critical events.
Yeah, the insights from the sheer scale of modern attacks, the ripple effects on supply chains, military readiness, it's all crucial for just understanding the world right now.
Absolutely. And as we finish, maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. We talked about the immense financial, the logistical strain this global arms race is putting on countries like the U.S.
Right. The stock replenishment issue?
Exactly. Can they actually keep up that pace? Replenishing their own stocks while supplying allies, supporting Kyiv. What's the long-term impact of this kind of rentist race on Europe's stability?
And how does that intersect with things like fiscal deficits, tax cuts, issues that are already making national debt levels deeper?
Lots to think about there.